and welcome to Adulting 101. Your crock pot is not just for dinner. We have several uses we want to share with you for a crock pot. You can actually bake a cake in a crock pot. You can make a cheesecake in a crock pot. It is great for dinner if you're having a long day at work or school and you want to have a meal ready when you come home. You can set the crock pot up in the morning and come home to a completely warmed, fully cooked meal. It's a wonderful time saver. But you can also do things that aren't for dinner, aren't meals or even desserts. You can actually do beverages. You can have potpourri sizzling. You can have simmering potpourri in your crock pot so your room smells good. Your whole house can smell really amazing just by putting aromatics in with some water and letting it simmer on low or warm settings. Crock pots do have several different settings. Make sure you pay attention to that with any recipe that you're using. You can also do things other than the aromatics that aren't edible as well. You can make candles with your crock pot. You really can. You can make soap with your crock pot. Another interesting thing to try. You can also dye yarn actually using Kool-Aid in your crock pot. There are so many things that you can do with it. So we're going to share some recipes with you today for things that you can do, and we hope that you'll join us, and let's get started. Okay, we're going to bake a cake in our crock pot. You can start out with a home mix if you'd like. Make your own recipe, anything you'd like, or you can just buy a cake mix from the store and a frosting mix and make it simple and quick and easy. So that's what we're going to do today, just to show you how to bake a cake in your crock pot. So we're going to follow the directions on the back of our box. To start out, we're going to put the cake mix into the crock pot. Now we are going to spray this crock pot. We'll be discussing crock pot liners in a little bit, but until then, we're going to spray this one for a cake because we don't want it to stick. So just like you would do your cake pan at home if you're baking a normal cake, we're going to spray all around this crock pot. Okay, and I'm just using your basic non-stick spray. So now I'm going to put the cake in. This is just your basic white cake. You can do any kind you'd like. All right, we need half a cup of oil. Add that in. And we need 1 cup of water. Okay, and then we need 3 eggs. Now to be safe, I like to crack my eggs somewhere else because you don't want to get any shell in your mix. And also if you're using fresh chicken eggs, there's a chance there could be something you don't want in there, a little spot of something. So it's always good to crack your eggs into a bowl or your measuring cup or something else. And then we're going to pour those in. Okay. Now, a whisk would probably be good. I'm also using a large spoon. We just kind of want to mix it up. Get it all in there. You could do this in a separate bowl and then pour it in to your crock pot as well. That's an option. I'm planning to serve this one straight out of the crock pot, but if you wanted to actually remove it before you frost it, I would recommend that you mix it in a bowl first and then pour it in. All right. Almost there. Try to get out the bigger lumps. Don't need those. Okay. Now we're going to put it into our crock pot. Place the lid on. And bake for 6 hours on low.
All right, next thing we're going to make is some meatballs. Quick and easy. The ingredients sound kind of weird, but just stay with it, it's really good. Now, we need to introduce you to crock-pot liners. Crock-pot liners are wonderful. If you come to Tab, you'll see us use them, especially with cheese, because you don't have to clean the crock-pot afterwards. They are the best thing ever. So, basically what they do is they remove the cleaning issue of your crock-pot. It's just like a big plastic bag type thing that goes in the crock-pot. Then when you're done, you just flip this out and you don't have to wash anything. So, okay. First thing that you need is just a bag of regular plain meatballs. Into the crock pot. 1 jar of chili sauce, not tartar sauce, not cocktail sauce, not ketchup, chili sauce. Okay, and this is where it looks weird. 1 jar of grape jelly. It sounds disgusting. Really, it's going to work out just fine. Once you get those two things in there, all you got to do is mix it up really good. And it's going to look like a mess. But once it all cooks down, it actually turns into a really nice barbecue type sauce. All right, once everything is all mixed up, you want to take and put it in the crock pot. And turn it on low for about 6 to 8 hours. And that's all you have to do.
Okay, you can also use your crock pot to make warm beverages, which will also make your house smell really good. So we're going to make some spiced cider. Now you could use a crock pot liner in this, but since this isn't something that's going to coat the sides and make it difficult to clean, I'm not going to. But you could if you wanted to, just to have that extra protection and not have to scrub it. But it's just cider, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it the way it is. Now I'm going to take this entire gallon, we'll see if it'll fit, into this crock pot. This is a larger crock pot. You could do this in a smaller crock pot. Obviously you wouldn't use as much, but if you just needed it for 1 or 2 people, you absolutely could just use a small crock pot. They do make dip size crock pots as well, and those are great for a lot of recipes. And potpourri even, which we will talk about later. All right, looks like we're almost there. Okay, cider's in. Now you can add things to your cider. You could add cloves and different herbs and aromatics to your cider. You could add different fruits to your cider. We're going to use dried lemons, and they do have different brands of these. You can also dry your own lemons if you really wanted to, or use fresh lemons for that matter. I'm going to put these in. It'll make it pretty and give it some nice flavor. Whoops, and I'm going to put in some cinnamon sticks. I'll put about 4 in. And now this I'm going to put into the crock pot. And now you can do this on high for 3 or 4 hours, or you could do it on low for probably 4 to 6 hours. It just needs to get warm. But you could leave it in the full 8 hours on low. Like I said, it will make your house smell really, really nice. And then you have a nice tasty beverage you can serve guests at a party, or you can have for your family at home during the day, your choice. And that is our spiced cider. Here is the finished cake that we are serving from the crock pot. Now remember, you can pull this out of the crock pot before you frost it if you want to. That's why we sprayed the crock pot before we put it in. But we're just choosing to serve it from the crock pot. So let's give it a taste. All right, I cut out a little piece, not very neatly I must say, but let's give it a taste. Actually, quite moist. This is the first time I've baked a cake in a crock pot. I bake lots of cakes, but I've never done it in the crock pot before. This was actually suggested by one of our teen advisory board members. And I have to say, it was a success, so give it a try.
Okay, now we're going to look at our meatballs that we made with the chili sauce and the grape jelly, which sounds really disgusting, but it isn't. So, this is what they look like after they cook for a while. They are no longer full of gloopy jelly. So, I'm going to scoop some out and we'll give them a try. All right, here's our meatballs. As you can see, it's turned into a nice sauce. So, all nice and done. The sauce is like the part of the best part, so make sure you get a whole bunch of it. These are really good. They're a little bit sweet. They're not spicy, even though we put chili sauce in it. It just has a very nice tang to it. It's like a very good barbecue. So definitely give these a try because these are excellent. All right, now we're going to look at this hot spice cider we made. If you remember from earlier, we put cinnamon sticks and lemons in there. You have lots of other options for spiced cider though. You could put cloves in or allspice or other different apples. You can actually even buy at stores something called mulling spice, and it's just everything you need to make spiced cider. So let's give it a try. All right, here's our hot spice cider. You want to make sure you don't get any cinnamon sticks or preserved lemons. And if you do use the mulling spice, make sure that you don't, it flavors the cider wonderfully, but just eating them plain is disgusting. So. Oh, the cinnamon is just infused through the cider. It is excellent. I would definitely want to try this with some extra spices and see if that would improve it at all. It tastes like a warm apple pie. Definitely try that for Halloween or something.
Now crock pots come in several different sizes. We have the larger ones here, which are great for meals or baking cakes or serving drinks for a large crowd, like our malt cider. But you can buy smaller crock pots. There are even some that are sort of medium sized if you are just cooking for 1 or for 2, or if you want to have dips at parties. For some of the teen advisory board meetings and our lock-ins, we've had like a nacho bar, we've had cheese in them, we've had salsa dips and things you can put in them. You can make lots of different appetizers. There are so many recipes out there on the internet and also in our wonderful cookbook collection that we have here at the library. So make sure you check those out. There are tons of ideas, and these cookbooks are even specific for crock pot cooking. And some of them even have some of the non-food ideas in there as well that we discussed. You can actually even keep foods warm in your crock pot and not even cook them in the crock pot at all. For example, say for Thanksgiving dinner, you want to make a huge batch of mashed potatoes for your family. Go ahead and make them the way that you normally do, but then scoop them into the crock pot and you can set it to the warm setting, and then those mashed potatoes will stay warm throughout the entire meal, because who wants to eat cold mashed potatoes, right? All right, I'm so glad that you were able to join us today. I hope that we gave you some great information. Please let us know if you have any questions. We would be happy to help you. And please join us for our next Adulting 101 class. Watch for information in our October 1st newsletter. We do have another class coming soon. Thanks.